Hi, and welcome to Freedom Fighters Code Gray. This is a show where we discuss human trafficking, an issue that's happening in our own backyard. Now, some of the content in today's show may be triggering for viewers, as we will be discussing subject matter related to trauma and exploitation. If you're looking for information and support related to human trafficking in Canada, you can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline 24/7 at 1-833-900-1010. Again, that's 1-833-900-1010. Today, I'm joined by Sofia Friesen from Ally Global Foundation to discuss the new project that they are working on that is focused on preventing human trafficking. So welcome, Sofia. I'm really excited to learn from you today.
Hi, Michaela. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be joining.
So just to start our conversation off today, what is Ally Global Foundation, this organization that you're doing work with, and what are some of the initiatives or work that you are focused on?
Yeah, so Ally Global Foundation, or Ally as we invite our friends to call us, we're an anti-human trafficking charity. We're based in Vancouver, BC, so we're a Canadian charity, but we work both domestically as well as internationally in Nepal and Cambodia. And our main areas of focus are providing prevention resources and conducting prevention programs specifically focused on children and youth. And then we also provide aftercare and reintegration services as well with our local partners in Nepal and Cambodia. So we try to work at all stages of the cycle of human trafficking in these different locations.
It's really neat that you have this prevention aspect, which we know is really key to helping stop human trafficking from happening, but then also for those who have experienced exploitation, that you have different supports in place to assist them on their healing journeys. And the fact that you're both a national and international organization is really interesting. So how did your organization out west in Canada begin? Where did its roots kind of start?
Yeah, great question. So our origin story starts with our founder, whose name is Randy Watson, and he had, years of experience working in the nonprofit space. And back in 2015, after there was a devastating earthquake in Nepal, he led a team there to respond and lead some construction projects to help with the restoration. And he was actually billeted or hosted by a safe home for children who had been rescued from trafficking and abuse situations. And so during that time, he was exposed to the way that these programs were being run by nationals and by survivors, and was really moved by the impact that it was having. And for him, having had experience seeing lots of different organizations, it was very impactful for him to see how successfully they were reintegrating children and restoring them holistically, providing wraparound aftercare. So he continued to stay in touch, and over time realized that, like most frontline service providing organizations, they often struggle to split their attention between getting money to do the work and raising funds and actually doing the work. And so in 2019, when their major source of funding backed out, Randy founded Ally to step in. And that's where our name comes from, is really being an ally to those, people who are locally based, doing amazing work, and us supporting them. And so that's kind of our origin story. And then from there, we expanded our work into Cambodia and built a partnership with a similar type of organization there. And then we formally started our work in Canada in 2022, because as a Canadian charity, we always felt that it was really important to be engaging with this issue here as well, to really fight the misconception that this issue is an over there problem. It happens right at home. And so it's been a journey. And in Canada, we do conduct most of our programming ourselves, which is a little bit different from our structure internationally, where it's really empowering local people to do the work.
I am so grateful for you taking the time to share that story, and just really encouraged by just the different philosophies in which your organization is implementing through doing this work here, but then coming alongside, like you said, organizations that had already started in Nepal and Cambodia, and coming alongside them to support them through resources and financial development. And I think that's really amazing that that was kind of the impetus for your organization, and then looking to seeing, okay, how can we also support the need in Canada? And I think your name now makes a lot of sense to me, right? Just coming alongside those different organizations as an ally. And that's really amazing. And so I know one initiative that your team has been working on over this past while is something called the Prevention Project. And, you know, over the last maybe decade in Canada, there has been an increase in awareness in human trafficking. And so prevention is a word that we're starting to get familiar with, even on the show, as folks are doing different initiatives. So I'm just really excited to dive in to see more about like, what is this initiative all about? And so what is the Prevention Project?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we're really excited that the Prevention Project is now live. It's something that was launched in March 2024, so just a few months ago. And it's a project that we did in collaboration with another organization, Exploitation Education Institute. And we worked with Tiana, the founder of that organization there, as well as survivors and education experts, to develop an online hub of resources that really focus on the root causes of exploitation and human trafficking. You know, in recent years, we've seen a big increase in online grooming and things like that being facilitated online. And so that means that everybody's vulnerability is increased to this issue. And what we've been seeing is a huge need for the safe adults in children's lives to feel equipped to actually have these conversations and to introduce these topics. And so we've developed a hub of over 100 resources focused on different topics related to the root causes of sexual exploitation and human trafficking. And we've divided it up into different age groups so that the resources are age appropriate. They're freely accessible. You don't have to, put in your name or anything to access them. You could watch them for free or download them for free. And then we've also included some facilitation tips as well, so that teachers or parents can really start to grow in their confidence around talking about this issue and keeping it lighthearted. Because I think because the topic of human trafficking is so heavy, I think the conversations and the visuals around it can sometimes be heavy. And we found that communities we work with really value keeping it lighthearted because it makes it feel a bit more approachable. So those are some of the things that we've tried to incorporate into these resources, and they're mostly video based. We have for each topic, we have at least 5 resources. So one is just a live action introductory video. One is an animated video infographic, kind of doing a 1-minute visual explanation of what the word means. And then one is a live action game show that's kind of Brady Bunch style, where we have 4 different students doing like a red flag, green flag, or true and false game. And then we have a scenario animation that basically presents a scenario that helps visualize and understand a bit more what it looks like in real life. And then we also have worksheets and infographics that can be printed out and used that way as well.
I am really excited about the accessible nature of what you are identifying that this project is and includes. The fact that it's free, the fact that it's available online. And I also love the empowerment side of things when you're talking about notes for potential facilitators and tools so that anyone could get this resource and share it in their classroom or share it in their home or share it in their community, I think is really amazing. And so I'm curious to know a little bit about how this project came to be, like what led you to decide to undertake this initiative. And then it sounds incredibly comprehensive, right? With all these different age groups and videos and resources. So what was kind of like the process of completing this project, and what makes it unique compared to other prevention initiatives that you see happening?
Yeah, so to go to your first question, it really started out of kind of similar to the way our international work started. It was seeing something that was being done exceptionally well, seeing a need for that to be scaled and, reach more people. And so that happened with Randy, our founder, and Tiana, who's the founder of XED. They were familiar with each other and built a relationship. And she has been doing amazing anti-trafficking and exploitation educational work over the last 10 years. So she's truly an expert in this space. And she's also based out west. And her model is very much focused on doing classroom presentations. And she's been having a ton of success with that. But they kind of put their heads together and said, how could we make this amazing, information and education that she has more accessible to more people? And so about 2 years ago now, we partnered together with her to start a process of figuring out what's the best way to communicate this information and how can we make it feel more bite-sized and more engaging. And so we also worked with educational experts. We worked with survivors at every step of the way to ensure that all the things that we were creating were informed appropriately and appropriate for different developmental stages. And then we also worked with a creative agency called Veto Creative Agency, and they really helped us build out from there a content strategy. And then we contracted them a lot of the work of actually doing the videos and animations and things like that. So it was a very collaborative project, which I think in and of itself is pretty unique. And I think that really shows through in the comprehensive nature of the resources, and that we were getting all of this input. Whereas if, I was just working on it by myself, or Ally was, we maybe wouldn't have covered all of the right topics, or we would have covered them in the wrong way or the wrong order. And so it's been really cool to see them now being implemented by teachers, community group leaders, whatever, and seeing that comprehensive nature is working well for them, and also putting it into a bit of an order so that it actually builds on itself and you could build a curriculum around it and things like that. So it's really exciting to know that these resources now exist, and we're continuing to grow them. So we're currently working on translating them into multiple languages to increase their accessibility. And we're also building out like full-on facilitation manuals for educators that include like curriculum. This is what you do if somebody discloses something to you. These are the key points. These are some activities. So we're just trying to continue building on it because it's the first step in what we hope is a long-term initiative.
That's really, really exciting. And I love that it's just going to continue to grow from here and to continue to develop based on different needs that you see in the community, as well as feedback that you might receive from people who are implementing the project. And so you kind of touched on this already, but really quickly, I'm wondering if you could maybe share one of the reasons why your team thought it was important to undertake this initiative.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason is it's the combination of education and awareness. We can increase awareness about things like human trafficking. And like you said, we've seen a lot of that. But unless there's meaningful education around what can I tangibly do to prevent this in my family or in my circle, it can become really crippling. And so that's really the need we wanted to meet, is providing true prevention materials that are educational and can come alongside the awareness piece to leave people feeling more empowered.
Well, Sofia, thank you so much for taking the time to share about the prevention project. I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation after we take a short break.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
We're taking this global. The toughest competition in sports is back. With the most international group of warriors ever. 16 mixed martial artists from 14 countries face off.
I don't care how light it is.
You are fighting each other for what?
For a shot at UFC glory. And women's flyweight champion Alexa Grasso and former champion Valentina Shevchenko guiding them on their quest. It's the new season of The Ultimate Fighter.
Yes!
Unbelievable.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Hi, and welcome back to Freedom Fighters Code Grey, a show where we talk about human trafficking. In today's episode, we're joined by Sofia Friesen from the Ally Global Foundation, and we're discussing their initiative called the Prevention Project. So we're going to take a look at a short video that they've prepared now so you can get a glimpse at some of the content of these courses that they've developed.
Hi, I'm Tiana and I'm from XN. Together, we've teamed up with our friends from Ally to create some awesome content that talks about an issue we know well called sexual exploitation. Using cartoons, gamified scenarios, and thoughts from others your age, we'll look at the often unspoken pieces of consent, sexting, predatory people, online grooming, sextortion, human trafficking, and so much more. We want to challenge you to think outside of the box with everyday situations that you might not realize are actually connected with sexual exploitation, and to apply what you've learned back into your own personal lives. If you ever feel unsure or encounter something that doesn't feel right, don't hesitate to reach out to a trusted adult or other resources we've included on our website. Together, we can make a difference in creating a safer online and offline world for everybody. So, let's jump in.
Sophia, so what a great video. You can just tell that there's been so much thought and enthusiasm that has been put into this project to really help reach young people, to meet them where they're at and equip them with tools that they need when thinking about how sexual exploitation happens in our communities. Mm-hmm. Part of what that video highlighted was some of the online components of sexual exploitation, like sexting, for example, or sextortion. So I'm wondering if you could discuss why the Prevention Project actually has like a complete specific section on the online aspect of sexual exploitation. Why is online safety, part of this conversation as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. As we were chatting a little bit about before, the online space has grown so rapidly in the last 2 decades. And so it's become a space where, as individuals, we go there to meet a lot of our needs. And so whether that's through social media or online gaming, especially among children and youth, that's a place that has become a regular access point to meet needs, whether it's for love and belonging or, looking for friendship or looking to get opportunities like jobs or money. It's become a real touch point for kids and youth. And unfortunately, that's being leveraged by predatory people or exploitative people or people seeking to do harm. And it's made it that much easier to do it because, in a sense, if you think about social media, we're kind of plastering our needs online through what we post. And so it's much easier for somebody to pretend that they're somebody else and be the person that can meet those needs for that person through an online space. And so that's really why we focus so much of our content and information on the online space, because across communities that we've engaged with throughout Canada, both urban and rural, online is a really it's a significant need, is to increase our understanding around online safety. So as young as grades 3 to 5, we introduce content around identifying what's an unhealthy or a healthy social media account, and what do you do when you come across an unhealthy one, or why do we need boundaries online? What is the internet? Really trying to get at some of those foundational building blocks so that as kids grow older, they can engage with more age-appropriate content, but ultimately have the foundation around, learning how to engage healthily in an online space, because it's ineffective to say, just don't go online. That's not realistic anymore. So instead, what are the tools that we can give them to almost develop that gut feeling? Like growing up, for me, it was stranger danger, don't get in the white van. You get that gut feeling that someone is unsafe. But online, that it's very hard to get that feeling. And so what we're trying to do is train people on that so that it raises those flags for them and prevents them from finding themselves in harmful situations online.
I really appreciate the equipping nature of how this curriculum has been considered. And in particular, like I think about some of the things that you're sharing and highlighting, it's almost helping to facilitate critical thinking amongst children and youth to be able to make decisions based on having, like you said, kind of a foundation of what's something that I should be kind of concerned about, or what's something that could be unhealthy, or what is an important boundary online, because those conversations are relatively new, even amongst adults, as technology moves so rapidly. So I think it's so great that we're helping to build these skills in our young people so that they can make healthy choices and decisions as they navigate an increasingly online world. And so you've mentioned a few different ages as we've been discussing today, but what ages is the project geared towards? And why did your team decide collaboratively that, you know, these are the ages that you were going to focus on specifically?
Yeah, so the three main age groups, which you'll find right on the homepage of our website, are grades 3 to 5, 6 to 7, and 8 to 12. And we chose those age groups mainly based on kind of the learning developmental stages. So that's kind of how we clustered them into those different groups and the specific risk factors and vulnerabilities we're seeing at those different ages. So that's really what informed the breakdown. And then in terms of starting as young as grades 3 to 5, it comes back to that piece about foundation, and learning about consent and those pieces at that age can really help provide that foundation to then build on in the future. Because, you know, it may not be appropriate to have a conversation about human trafficking with someone who's in grade 3, but what are the conversations we can have that it starts to develop those instincts and, you know, those reflexes almost, so that when they're older, they're primed for that conversation. So that's why we're starting that young. And then the resources that are grades 8 to 12, I've also used them with adults. I just find that they're, because we try to use really simple language and keep things really short, it can be really helpful even for adults to understand different definitions and to have kind of infographics that they can refer back to. So those are the age groups that are geared towards, and the website is meant to be navigated both by kids who are trying to find the right space for them, which is why we have those clear grade breakdowns right on the homepage, but then also for, like I said, parents, teachers, safe adults in kids' lives. And for that reason, we also have the library section where you can actually download full chapter bundles as well. And we'll be launching those facilitator manuals that will be included in there as well this coming September. So we're trying to make it navigable by both kind of populations.
That's great. Thanks, Sophia. And, you know, as you look at all the different parts and aspects of this project, what is like the main goal? What is the main goal behind the prevention project? And why is achieving that goal important to all of those who have been involved?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when we get down to it, the primary goal ultimately is to prevent the sexual exploitation of children and youth, and doing that through empowering them and the safe adults in their lives with effective education and tools. And the vision for the project, right from the beginning, we had all the collaborators in the room. We said, what if we could reach every child and youth in Canada in the next 10 years? That everybody would have access to this education, regardless of where they live, regardless of what language they speak, regardless of their different needs, that this education would ultimately just be accessible and available. And part of focusing on the root causes is in recognizing that we have the opportunity to not only prevent people from becoming victims, but also from becoming perpetrators. And a lot of, we see that people in both of these groups are often making decisions or finding themselves in situations because they're trying to meet their needs. So if we can have these foundational conversations and introduce that to kids at a young age, it can be a protective factor for both ends of the spectrum, ultimately, trying to really combat this issue from both sides.
Thanks, Sophia. That's really insightful and encouraging to hear. And, I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this project gets rolled out over the days and weeks and years to come, and, the lives that it will impact over time. And so on that front, how can people access the content? If someone's tuning into the show, who do you think in the community would benefit from accessing it, sharing it? Who are some of the target audiences, if you will, that could be facilitators? How can we help get this information out there?
Yeah, so the easiest way to access it is at our website, thepreventionproject.ca. And I would encourage anybody listening to access it. I think it's relevant for anybody who's interested in learning more, and certainly parents and educators, people who are involved in their community, people who work in frontline care or providing different social services, people who are youth group leaders or community group leaders. I would highly recommend this to all people, even if you don't work directly with kids. Like I said, I think the 8 to 12 content is actually really helpful for people of all adult ages as well. So I would encourage everybody to check them out there.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Sophia. Now, you've been involved in this project alongside many others. You were mentioning different collaborators, like the different staff, survivors, multiple organizations, different firms involved. And so what did you learn personally participating in this project?
That's a great question. I think it gave me a lot of humility in realizing that this issue is so complex and the needs of different groups of people are so complex and so different. And so it was a real learning experience for me to value the voices of people from different walks of life, from people with lived experience, from people who are service providers, to really round out my limited view of the issue. And I think that's what's so significant about such a complex issue is it requires many different perspectives to understand it fully. And I'm sure I still don't, but it was a real amazing a learning opportunity for me to get to glean that insight from Tiana from XED, from our survivor partners, our educator consultants, even the creative agency, just in terms of how to communicate meaningfully and simply. So yeah, it was a really big learning experience for me, and in just trying to disseminate knowledge that can sometimes feel so obvious to me into language that makes sense for any other person.
Well, Sophia, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on today's program. And really, thank you to you and your entire team for the important work that you do every single day to raise awareness about human trafficking, but to empower folks around the world who are doing this work to assist children and individuals who are exiting situations of exploitation, to assist them in their healing, and then also to be a part of such an important project to get different resources developed to help end human trafficking in Canada. It has been such a pleasure to chat with you. And I do hope if you're tuning in today that you'll check out this resource and that you'll share it in your network. Now, if you're tuning into the show today and you're looking for information and support related to human trafficking in Canada, you can call the National Human Trafficking Hotline 24/7 at 1-833-900-1010. Again, that's 1-833-900-1010. Thanks so much for tuning into Freedom Fighters Code Grey. We hope that you'll join us next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
In para hockey, the ice tilts.